Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the Frontline Changes report for the past 3 days. So haven't done Frontline Changes report for 3 days. So because there's also not a lot, so I end up doing conclusions and do sit reps only and something like this. So but we have sufficient now, so let's check it out. So we're going to start as usual from the Kursk front all the way in the north, and the frontline change is over at Goyevo. So this is a very small frontline change. Russian forces geolocated. Oops, that's one tiny line. Geolocated across the Sel River. So just some small change, confirming the Russians have taken the forest between the two rivers, and the Ukrainian forces most likely have flee to the southern part of maybe this forest line here, which is probably safer. Rather than this one which is just next to Goyevo. Yeah, that would be too hazardous to be there. So that's a tiny change. The next frontline change, we go to Bilohorivka, over here, over the Siversk front. At Bilohorivka, Russian forces geolocated heading in the direction of Krychorivka. So they are moving from Bilohorivka over to Krychorivka. And although this is a very difficult terrain to fight in, but the Russian forces moved nevertheless. The distance traveled is probably around 500 meters, not a lot. This is a very slow crawl because of the difficult terrain. So we will continue to monitor the situation around here. Most likely because of the Russians are here all the way to the Seversky Donetsk River is most likely all under Russian control, which is why this is mapped like this. The next frontline change, we go to the Toretsk front, where our beloved sauropod, our long-necked dinosaur, Nelipivka, has finally got chopped off his head. So off with his head, and he's gone, he's dead. This because the Russian mapping have mapped their firm control until this point only, which invalidates the previous geolocation of Russian forces going all the way up to Nelipivka, and which is a namesake for this dinosaur. So it's gone, the head is chopped off, and the Ukrainians basically have retaken all of these positions. So there is this is something that I did mention when the geolocation first happened. I said that it's very unlikely that the Russians is going to be able to hold a position there because it's way too far away, unless the Russian forces launch some massive offensive and capture all these grounds around here. Which they didn't. So the entire thing is just collapsed. The distance from the furthest point to the new front line is 4 kilometers in a straight line. So this is how far the Russians actually went in the suicide charge, which is that why they do something like this. But no, yeah, this is what it is. So the next frontline change is within Toretsk. So the Russian mapping have claimed that this entire region here is all under Russian control, whereas the Ukrainian mapping in the latest mapping have shown that they have given up the stadium. They have said that the Russians have taken the stadium region, so the Russians have confirmed to have taken all this area, whereas the Russian claims back the entire thing because the last geolocation has been a long time, and the latest Russian mapping simply show that this entire area is under Russian control. So the Russians have retaken all of these areas here. So, but for now, this is still a very vague region. Most likely, the Ukrainians have no presence in the center of Toretsk anymore. But this is just very hard to imagine them trying to walk through the entire city to reinforce or resupply. It don't make sense. They are unlikely to be here. The Ukrainian presence most likely is in the edge of the city. That's more likely to be the case. So after Toretsk, over at Novospassky or Petrivka, which is the original name, the Russian forces has been geolocated at the entrenchment. So this tentatively, no one knows exactly where it comes from. My judgment call is that it comes directly along the tree line from Petrivka or Novospassky, and resulted in this frontline change. This is my guess. So they are now probably fighting for this heavy fortification. So let's see how this goes. The distance advance is around 700 meters. So that's the advancement in this sector. Because if I map it in the other way, which is like this, this is too big, or even this, like this is too big. Like this is just saying that the Russians have captured literally like everything, and the Ukrainians have mass withdraw from this region or routed from this region. It's unlikely to be the case. So this is where it comes from, because the last reactivity seems to be also around here. So we shall wait and see whether we have more information coming from the mappers, from the Ukrainian and pro-Russian sources. So so after Novospassky, over in SUKHA BALKA, we have the confirmation of the Russian capture of SUKHA BALKA, with Ukrainian mapping and geolocations confirming that the Russian forces have captured all of these areas here, including going up north this tree line over on the west and capturing of the rest of the tree line and fortification on the east, the entire settlement itself, fortifications protecting the western part, and the lake region is all under Russian control. This is a huge advance. On average, the advance is around 700 meters. So on average, so that is that's the main frontline change over SUKHA BALKA. Significant frontline change, and now the battle is going to move on to the town above, which is Romanivka. The next frontline change after SUKHA BALKA, we go to next door over at Pokrov front at Tarasivka. So the Russian side has claimed capture of Tarasivka. They have a geolocation of Russian forces waving the flag at this position. So let's say if you give them like a 500 meter safe zone, that will still not cover the whole of the town, which is why on DPS mapping we are not declaring Tarasivka to be captured by the Russian forces yet. So we have the announcement, but this is only the Russian claims. I think the Russian Defense Ministry also claimed that. Ukrainian mapping, however, did map that the Russian forces have captured this entire tree line here, including everything here, and as well a little bit more to the tree line moving towards the forest in the around Vodyane Druhi. So altogether, the Russian forces have captured quite a lot of grounds in the north of Baranivka and towards Tarasivka. Is it called Baranivka previously? Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. I totally forgotten the name of Baranivka. Like, it doesn't exist on in my brain anymore. It's been so long since the Russians have captured Baranivka. So that's the advance around here. The distance, maximum distance captured is around 1.5 kilometers from Baranivka to the tree line, whereas on the Tarasivka side is around 700 meters. So that's the frontline change over at the Pokrov front at Tarasivka. The next frontline change is over in the southern flank at Yasinove. So this is a Ukrainian disclaim. This is clearly an impossible salient. Yasinove is over here. This is Slovianka. And so the Russian forces have confirmed to have taken this patch of the farmlands, which most likely have been under Russian control for a long time, because it's just impossible for the Ukrainians to be there. So the advance or the distance change is around 2.5 kilometers. So that's something. Although nothing surprising to that, because it's just impossible to be there. And the next frontline change, we go to the Koma front. Koma is over here. Over at Rozliv, there is a geolocation of Russian forces heading towards this tree line. So this lead to some frontline change in the north of Rozliv, although this area here is already claimed to be under Russian control on Russian mapping. So we will just take this as it is. It's a corroboration of part of the Russian claims, but nothing more than that. The distance travel is around 500 meters, around there. So that's all from Rozliv. And there's one last frontline change is over in the Zaporizhia front, over at Lobkove. The Ukrainian mapping continue to assert they continue to insist that they are here. So this is a Ukrainian claim. So they have never given up the claim here. So previously I made a judgment call to put this under Russian control due to geolocation at Lobkove. However, Ukrainian mapping continue to assert that they are here. So this mapping is back. So otherwise, this is not an advance. It's just a clarification of the front line for the Ukrainian mapping. So that's it for all the frontline changes. So we go to put the background here. Okay, never mind. So let's put out the black thing first. So the biggest capture is at Pokrov front. So at the Pokrov front, we have the big one over at Tarasivka and also north of Baranivka, as well as the ones over in south of Yasinove. So this contribute to the biggest capture at 9.06 square kilometers. And then the next biggest is at Toretsk due to the SUKHA BALKA situation, as well as in Toretsk itself. So this contribute the biggest. And also here at Petrivka, the Ukrainians biggest is at Toretsk due to the death of Nelipivka, our sauropod long neck dinosaur. Otherwise, Zaporizhia, the Zaporizhia correction is very minor. So let's do some calculations, some maths. We do the Ukrainian one first. So I want to zoom in here. I want to do, let's say, this bit here. Okay, then my calculator. So we do the Ukrainian one first, then because Ukrainian one is easier to count. 1.84 plus 0.98. So the total area captured by the Ukrainians is 2.82 square kilometers. So 2.82 square kilometers. And the Russian one is 0.4 plus 0.77 plus 3.34 plus 9.06 plus 0.31. So the total area captured by the Russian forces in the past 3 days is 13.88. So if you divide by 3, 14 cannot be divided by 3, 12 can divide by 3 is 4. So it's around 4 plus square kilometers per day. So it's definitely a lot slowed down. So yeah, so that's what it is. It is what it is. That's all. Thank you for watching. This is the Frontline Changes report. So press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update. And happy birthday to you if your birthday today.